OTC Decoded. What's the most interesting or unusual project you've ever worked on, and why did it stand out?
So I thought a bit about this one, and the strangest thing I've ever done was, as an IT manager, I had to get the company prepared for Y2K. And if you remember Y2K, when all the computers were going to die and they were unable to count beyond 1999, there was a lot of anxiety in the industry that everything would come to a halt. So we went frantically and did audits of our computers and our software and our process control systems, and it was a major exercise. And then come the day, absolutely nothing happened whatsoever. So I don't know whether that was a worthwhile project or just a complete waste of time. But it did teach me that the sort of herd mentality, the society sort of built this up into a major thing, and everybody, prepared for the worst. It was going to be doomsday, and it turned out that it was nothing. And I think later, society later, with COVID, experienced similar characteristics where everybody started believing that this was the worst and the worst was to come, and it actually turned out to be not nearly as bad as we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I started early in my career in the defense industry, known as, at that point in time, it was Arms Corps. And all the affiliates were also part of Arms Corps, and I worked for a company called Littleton Engineering Works. And there we were in the very early days of developing the G6 mobile artillery system. We were a fairly young team because it was a young industry. There were not many people with a lot of experience. So we actually did a lot of things that we could not know could not be done. So it was a very interesting part of my career to actually be involved in the G6 project from its early conceptual days until it saw operational deployment. That was about over a period of I think about 10 years that it took. And it for a large portion of that, I was also the project manager on that project. So it was a very significant highlight of my career. Very few people actually have the privilege of seeing a major weapon system going from conceptualization until operational deployment.
This has to be one of the most interesting projects I ever worked on. Between 2008 and 2011, Sasol Technology embarked on a really ambitious program, which is called the Natural Gas and Secunda Growth Program. It was a 30 billion rand project, and it brought gas from Mozambique down to Sasolburg and Secunda. And from there, it was translated into other products and so on and so forth. But what made this project so unique for me was that I had been the manager of cost engineering in Sasol Technology for many years. I was assigned to this project, and I thought that what would happen is that I would play the role of the project services manager with Sasol people reporting to me, obviously overseeing what the managing contractor is doing. And it didn't happen like that. All the people that were reporting to me actually started reporting to the managing contractor, and the managing contractor controlled all these Sasol people as part of the overall execution of the project. And so you now need to figure out a way of how you're going to effectively keep your own people happy, because they're now in this other environment, if I can call it that, which is somewhat different to Sasol, but also keep the Sasol culture with these guys. And so that to me was a really interesting project. And there's been lots of other nice projects as well, but that to me is the one that stood out. Firstly, its size and its complexity, and then secondly, managing the relationships and the relations between the managing contractor and the Sasol head honchos, if I can call it that. Very interesting.
Unusual projects is probably quite interesting. I mean, one of the projects that I worked on was in Iran on the cracker and the polymers plants that Sasol bought into, and we had to reconfigure the whole project and help starting it up and so forth. And the quality was so bad that a lot of the work had to be redone. So a complete sort of almost a revamp had to be done to fix all the construction errors and so on. And then the Iranian people said, this is a very good practice. They want to employ it on all projects. And we said, well, you actually shouldn't need it on a project rather than employ it.